Things are getting even more frightening in Iraq for believers in other faiths than Islam. At the end of last month, an attack on Iraq's dwindling Christian community left 58 people dead. Al-Qaeda warned that more killings would follow. Another victimised minority are the Sabian Mandaeans, whose followers revere John the Baptist. Some have fled to Australia, and now a Mandaean detainee on Christmas Island fears that the persecution has followed him here. He's frightened of violence from other detainees because of his religious faith. Jennifer Macey prepared this report with ABC Local Radio's Hana Vieva.
45-year-old Salah Azuhari is a Sabian Mandaean, an ancient gnostic religion whose followers are thought to be the last surviving disciples of John the Baptist. He fled from his village in southern Iraq because of religious persecution, and he says he's facing similar discrimination from fellow Iraqi detainees on Christmas Island.
So he said they basically bullied him. They told him he had no right to sit with them, eat with them, be in their presence. And they said that because of his religious belief, he has no right to live in Iraq or anywhere else. He's been on the run since Iraq and Jordan, and he feels like he's still on the run even though he's in Australia.
Salah Azuhari has been in detention on Christmas Island for 1 month. He says his family in Iraq were tortured by the Mehdi army and the Badr forces, an Iraqi political party.
He and his family were tortured. His uncle was bombed. His other uncle received a nail to his head, so they basically bashed a nail through his brain. He was subsequently kidnapped, tortured and put around dead bodies, other dead bodies. They're basically seen as sinners. They're looked upon as Christians and Jews by the fundamental Muslims. So they're tortured because they're sinners.
The Mandaeans are pacifists and their religion prevents them from taking part in protests. Salah Azuhari says that's why he refused to go on a recent hunger strike to protest against the death of an Iraqi detainee in Villawood.
He is a law-abiding citizen who follows the rules. He's doing that in the detention centre. He's isolated, and he's isolated himself because he fears for his life. He has been threatened to be killed while he sleeps. He feels that the situation in the detention centre is like exactly the situation in Iraq.
An Immigration Department spokesman says the department is not aware of any complaints being made. But if there were serious concerns as to a client's ongoing welfare, the department would consider moving them. The Immigration Department spokesman, Sandy Logan, spoke to ABC Local Radio earlier.
But it's also an opportunity for people who do believe they have a strong claim to remain in Australia, to begin to live with Australian values and to live under Australian norms. And this means that where there is interfaith conflict, that it is resolved in a peaceful and amicable way. That is certainly the training that our staff have, but as I say, these are quite rare. They are not common in immigration detention.
But it's not the first time this has happened. In 2003, Amnesty International made a complaint to the Human Rights Commission on behalf of a female Mandaean who says she was sexually harassed while in detention. Sev Ozdowski is a former Human Rights Commissioner.
Basically, they suffered from a double punishment. They were quite often regarded as unclean, as unable to meet with other Muslims. They were ostracized. There were cases of harassment. There was a case of alleged rape. They simply didn't have the standing in the community in detention.
He says Mandaeans should be kept in separate detention from other asylum seekers and their claims processed immediately. Meanwhile, Salah Azuhari wants his processing sped up so that he can be reunited with his 6 children who are still in Jordan.
He has 3 siblings who came here as refugees and now have refugee status. They live in Sydney. They have had the opportunity to express their religion, believe in what they want to believe, and that he feels that he can do that outside the detention centre.
After threatening to run away, Salah Azuhari has been moved to be closer to the 4 other Mandaeans on Christmas Island. He says he feels much safer, but that if the other Mandaeans leave, he'll be completely alone.
Jennifer Macey prepared that report with Hana Vieva.